31st. And the recommendation is that the minutes of the executive committee meeting on July 31st, 2023 be adopted. Are there any changes or omissions to that? I'm getting all these messages. Does anyone have any amendments to the minutes? Okay.
No.
Saying
I'll move adoption.
Thank you, Alison. And Sue
Second.
Ellen, thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. So the minutes are adopted from the last meeting. So item number 3 at this point would be public comments. Do we have any public online, Stephanie, or do you know of?
Nobody.
Nobody. I also note that at the end of the agenda, there's an item at the very end of the agenda, which is question period. So if anyone does come in during the meeting, they could ask the questions there, which items relate to the agenda items only at that point. So item number 4 is the business arising from the minutes and the tests. Good afternoon. The emergency notification system, next generation 911. Can you give us the update on that, please?
Yeah, the grant is one that we don't have to actually apply for. It's an automatic $45,000 that we will get, and we've received half of it already. Erin received an email from Surrey Dispatch about some of the requirements for updating the GIS. That's one of the things that grant can be used for. The 3 things that the grant can be used for is GIS and mapping, public information, and training.
I'm confused. What's this got to do with next generation 911?
This is all getting prepared for next generation 911.
Ah, okay, thank you.
If I and Chair, if I may just provide a little bit of background on E911.
Sure.
Yeah.
So some people call it next gen 911, some people call it E911. Essentially, it's an enhanced 911 service that provides more precise location information as well as elevation, so that responders will have better knowledge going into an emergency in terms of where to find the situation that's in need of response. And additionally, it allows for what's considered real-time texting. So when you send a text and you can see the little bubbles, like somebody's sending you a text, like they're writing, but you can see the little bubbles, but it doesn't actually send. The real texting, when you're doing a 911, you can text 911 issues, and it's character by character, and so it actually goes through immediately. And so it's a much more enhanced 911 system. And then part of the challenge with rolling it out is it requires improved telecommunications throughout the entire region so that there's better cell coverage, because it is all based on cellular networks. And then there's going to be a lot of requirements for local areas like ourselves to improve data to assist in the response efforts of 911 calls. So that's the enhanced GIS, like the improved GIS and mapping for local areas to help it make it better. So like, for example, the mapping of Bowen is pretty good, but it's not great for an ambulance or somebody that doesn't really know the area very well. So I'm improving that. And one of the biggest challenges with the whole rollout of E911 is that it's a fairly substantive cost, and the cost to support 911 has primarily been funded through a levy on landlines, and it's not clear as to how they will recover the cost going forward, but it's anticipated that there'll be a new levy on cellular devices, and but the regulation hasn't been finalized yet at the province to enable that. Tess, is there anything more to add?
There's that end of it, yeah.
Do you have any sort of a timeline? Anyone? Sorry, Sue Ellen, you have a question.
Progressing over till 2025. So it's a progressive.
Thank you. Sue Ellen?
Yeah, thanks. I noticed we've got a little line on this down in 5.3 in Tess's, it's called NG 911 grant down there. And I'm wondering, Tess, I'm looking at different kinds of GIS upgrades for biodiversity planning and things from the conservation side to Google Earth Engine, some of these things that are being used in Squamish. Would that kind of mapping, which goes down to like 10-meter definition, would that be helpful in this case too? Do you know, or if somebody?
I'm not sure about the specifics as far as the GIS. What we've done is there's a tool for the GIS contractors and the people that work on the GIS to assess the current systems and discover what needs to be done to get them up to that grade, the grade that we need. So we've had our GIS contractor give us a quote on all of the systems that will need to be done.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Not a question as much as the takeaway I'm getting from this is if you are calling 911, you call from your cell phone because that will have the GIS tracking in it, whereas, and you need to have your tracker on your phone when you call. So, because I often turn it off because I don't want to be located.
Thank you,
And,
Sue
yeah.
Ellen.
Sure. I think I'll let Liam go first. I've got a different question.
Okay,
Well, I was
Liam.
just going to say, I think don't hesitate to call 911 from the easiest and fastest and closest phone that you might have. So
But
if
your
you're at home-
landline
if-
doesn't
if
have-
if you're at home and the emergency is at home, calling from your landline is just fine.
Well,
Don't try to scramble to find your cell phone.
Does the landline have GIS tracking?
I don't know about that, but you can still provide your address, and so
Yeah.
that's fine. But if you're mobile and out and about, then that the cell phone GIS.
Well,
tracking
that's
is
what you'd have
better.
with you. Yeah.
Thank you, Liam. Sue Ellen?
Thanks. I'm looking at the Tessa's chart in 5.3 again. The very top one is about the repeater purchase and installation. Is that part of the E911 grant that will help to fill the cell phone spots, or is it a separate emergency contact project?
That's a separate project that was started a few years ago and was just completed. Or the grant was just completed.
Oh, okay.
And that project is for our actual handheld radios improvement.
Radios, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions on that item or comments?
I'd like to make one comment. About 15, 16 years ago, we had a very serious incident at the general store. At that time, the president of the BC Lions football team, the organization, had a heart attack in the general store. I called 911 and they really slowed up their response because there was no address number handy. And I finally said, it's the general store. I can see the ambulance station from here. Just tell anybody who's in that ambulance station, it's the general store. But it was quite frustrating and it did not work. The gentleman did not live. So I think this is something incredibly important.
That's a sad story.
The call centers are not local, I don't believe. So they no. So you can't say I'm down by the docks or something.
In fact,
So
they had
using
a
a cell phone.
Yeah. In fact, I had to call 911 myself, and I was sitting outside the ambulance depot, right in front of the door, and they said to me, "Where are you?" And I said, "Right at the door here." "Oh, hold on, we'll go and get somebody to come and get dressed and come and meet you." And it took about 10 minutes. So I found out if you can drive to the ambulance area, that's probably is good too. Anyway, any more comments on that from anyone? If not, are there any action items coming out of that? Anyone Tess?
No, I'm just working through the grant and
Thank you very much. Okay, next item is item number 5, which are updates, and 5.1 is the extreme heat response. Tess, could you please give us an update?
Yeah, so the document is attached, and so I've just updated it a couple of ways based on the communications from the last rendition of this. And so things that were changed were only things like the names and address, or the names and contacts for people. The personal phone numbers were removed from it. It was updated with the new Rotary Club's watering station. They have a new water refill station down in the cove. So those are the types of updates that this document has received.
Okay.
Sue Ellen has pointed out that it still says 2021, that it's the extreme response guide for 2021. I was looking at it similar to the land use bylaw where it's just had this update, but if we want me to change it all to be the 2023.
Well, that was my same comment. I think it either has to say updated August 2023, might be better because it is the original guide, and then, you know, down at just underneath it, just change it to say, you know, updated August 2023.
Yeah, so it says that at the very bottom of the document. It says it was what the date it was created on, and then the date that it was the month and date.
Oh, the very last page?
On the very last page.
Yeah, well, maybe on the bottom right corner of the front page, if you could plop that in somehow.
Yeah, I could put an update on the front page for sure.
Yeah.
Tess, I'm just trying to find the minutes of that item in the attachment. Or Stephanie, could you tell me what page it's on?
Oh, I'm using the interactive,
I can share it as well.
the HTML document.
I was just looking for test report. Internal document. It's
It
okay.
starts on page 9 of the PDF.
Thank you,
Yeah,
John.
have that open.
I do. Okay, got it. Yes, here we go. Thank you. Where did we get? Oh, Stephanie's
Right.
sharing the screen.
Is that helpful? So this is the internal document that we
It's
use.
showing as black.
It's still, there it goes.
Okay,
Okay, I just don't want to
And-
give you a. Right
Yep.
now, yeah.
Okay.
So that's the internal document.
No, it's not internal. It's just had because that's posted on our website. It's had the list of phone numbers removed,
It's-
the
I think
personal contact.
It's guiding
Yeah.
staff response. And then the
Here?
other one is the public one pager.
Chair, I see Councillor Bass has her hand up.
I can't see that. Go ahead, Sue Ellen.
Thanks. I brought this up with Steph, and I think the suggestion of putting, updated August 2023 somewhere on the cover would be good. And also in the footer on every page reads guide August 2021. And if it could just say after that /updated August 2023, then it'll be clear to everybody, whatever page they're looking at, whether they're looking at an old version. I was looking for the updated, and Tess told me it was at the bottom, and I'm looking at the bottoms of all the pages. So thanks, Tess, but the usual way now is for these documents that get updated regularly is just to do the little slash and the version or something like that. And maybe that's what I would suggest, but thank you for updating it. I think it's good.
Thank you. I like that idea, Sue Ellen, updating the cover page and then updating the footer, exactly as you
I
described.
see Liam has
Cut-
had his hand up for a while too.
Yes. Let me go to Alison for a moment.
Well, I'm not sure whether you want to update. I would just leave the footer as take the date off the footer, because some of the pages won't have been updated. They're the originals. But,
Could
and then I'm not, this document is on the website, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So what's the
Oh,
significant
sorry.
change is taking the page with the personal phone numbers off. Yeah. Okay.
Liam, do you have a follow-up there?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I agree. We should probably avoid having the date in the title of the document, but rather the date on the front page, but the date that it was most recently updated. And then Tess, I like what you did on the very last page in terms of created August 21st, updated August 2023.
Yeah.
But typically that would follow the cover page. So right off the hop, you're able to see. So perhaps on that very first page, we would often have that type of information in there, so you know right off the bat. And then I do agree with Councillor Morris. If we remove the date in the footer, we then we then don't run into that problem. It's less updating to have to do too.
Just want to remove the date from the title entirely. So from
Yeah.
and from the front page, the cover page.
So on the front page, if we remove the year in the title, but we still have on the front page the date at which it was last updated.
Or exactly the same wording as on the back page. Created August 21, updated. Yeah.
Yeah, I think just simply
Or
put
updated August
updated
23rd,
on
I don't
the most
23.
recent date.
Yeah.
But then for tracking purposes on that first page after the title, you identify, because that, if you know, in 2026, when we update it again, we can see that, like, okay, it was created in 2021, updated in 2023, updated in 2026, and so we can see the history of the updates.
Tess, did you get all that? Did you get that, Tess?
I got it as well. I can help you, Tess.
Okay, Steph, thank you. Clarification on the word internal. Did we decide it needs to be internal on the front, on the cover sheet? Is that?
No,
It's just internal because it's like the type of a behavior that the staff would use. And then the other document is a one-page briefing note, which is, sorry, Tess, is for the public to absorb how they are to respond.
Okay, so this one we're looking at with the color cover is internal. Then the public is the one pager. Is that correct?
Yes.
No.
Is that right?
No.
Yes.
so that this big fancy glossy color document is not going to appear on our website.
I think just because it's on the website, sorry, Tess, because this is pre you. The discussion was that it's on the website, so the public knows that we're prepared. But the public isn't expected to do this, right?
Okay, well, when you talk about it being an internal document, to me, that means it's not on the website.
Yeah.
There was a page in there which had a whole bunch of private phone numbers on it, which has been removed. Because that's an entirely internal document. So it is on the website, which tells the general public that we've got a plan and we're prepared and whatever. But it doesn't release all the personal phone numbers, which are separate somewhere else for everybody.
Correct.
So if this document is going to be on the website, which it is, the conclusion, I think, is to remove the word internal and change the date from 21 to 23. Is that correct? Did I get, is that what we want to do? Steph?
I'm gonna leave it to Tess.
Yeah, we're going to take out the date. But again, it's as Steph said, it's an internal document because it's not something for the public to use. It's totally guides BIM and our decisions around extreme heat.
Well, so does the strategic plan and a whole bunch of other stuff. So
just-
Yeah, my recommendation would be to remove the word internal and that would stop the confusion.
well, there's no internal on the document. It's in the agenda.
Oh, I'm
It's
looking
in
at
the
the wrong
title of the
document.
document, but can you see this briefing note, the heat warning and extreme heat events? Is that sharing?
Yeah, I can.
Oh, right.
I
it
think
is
the
on
idea was for if people in the public are like, everybody's going, oh, it's getting hot. What are we going to do? It's like, well, here's what you do. You make a plan, you learn, you slow down, you cool down. These are the places you can go.
Yep.
Whereas the other document is for Tess and staff to have internal structures for what their duties they're performing in an event.
So why don't you change the word internal to BIM?
I'm gonna leave that to Tess. I'm just providing the background for when
Okay,
she
well,
wasn't
to
here.
me, the word internal means it's not a public document.
You know what I'm going to do here? I'm going to ask Liam to sort this out because you're
I
the
think so.
you're the CAO. So you work it out.
Okay, thank you,
Whatever-
Chair.
Whatever meets the
Yeah.
municipal standards.
Aaron and Tess and I will discuss and. make
Yeah,
the-
offline. Otherwise, we're in this rabbit hole for a long time.
Okay, thank you,
Exactly.
Chair. I really appreciate you pulling us out of this deep hole.
Thank you. Okay, I want to move on to the next item on the agenda. If I can find it now. Okay, I think
The org chart.
it's the org chart.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you for that. Thank you for producing that test or presenting it to us. Any comments from you or from anyone else on the org chart? Has everyone seen it?
I'll flash
Oh,
it.
It's on page. Let me get to it. Yep. What would be?
Ed keeps breaking up.
I think it's the screen sharing.
Yeah.
24 of the PDF.
Why don't you
looked
guys
at it.
use the HTML version? Then you can just click on the link.
Yeah. I looked at this at the org chart. It makes a lot of sense to me. It's a combination of organization and information on the chart. It's not strictly an org chart, but it's got everything that the EPC does is right on there, and the reporting responsibilities are on there, and how the various organizations fit together. So I think to me it looks pretty good. Any comments from anybody else at this point?
Yeah, under NERP, I don't know if we need the support provide included community foundation grant and the others. I don't know if that means much to anybody but us. And I do a sentence and I'll send this off to Tess. Just neighborhood emergency response program addresses emergency preparation, preparation and response at a neighborhood grassroots level. That's- Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that needs to be revised, Ed. You've got it right on.
Yeah.
And leave out the
Let's-
very last one, Ed?
Yeah,
Yeah,
because that was a one-off grant.
exactly. Yeah.
That's right. So Ed, why don't you, as you plan,
Yeah, I'll send it.
draft something, send it to Tess, and
Will do.
Liam, you can have a look at it and approve it. Anyone else? I can't see your hands, unfortunately. Anyone else?
Councillor
Sue
Fowler.
Ellen. It's Sue Ellen. Thank you for this test. I just think it's nice and simple and clearly laid out. I don't remember having seen one before. And I don't want to editorialize or do any wordsmithing. I just have one question, and that is regarding the Union of BC Municipalities. Aren't there sort of, I thought there were training or there's guidelines and things like that happen through UBCM as well? I'm not sure. It's another one of these sort of support organizations, but anyway, I wondered.
Councillor Fast, I wonder if you might be thinking about the, so there is funding, a variety of funding that comes through UBCM that supports the emergency program, but the bulk of the training flows through the Justice Institute.
Oh,
Okay. Yes.
Allison here. I'm wondering if the UBCM coordinated a couple of webinars and information. No, that was the Emergency Management Association. They coordinated some information, and I think UBCM helped disseminate it for the new legislation.
Yeah. I think one thing with putting, if you put in too much detail under each one of these bullets or
Yeah.
arms, if you put too much detail, then you're only asking for it to be updated as everything changes. So let's try and keep it generic as possible.
Yeah, good.
So Ed, I think you're on the right track there with making yours quite generic and informative as to what it is for the public. Other than that, I think if there are no other questions, we can move on to the next item.
I have one more suggestion.
Sure, go right
It's just-
ahead.
One of the things I found it useful was going, oh yeah, that's what ESS stands for. I'm acronym challenged, as people might know. What does AED stand for?
Oh, that's the God, I
This is
took the
skill
course.
testing,
Defibrillators.
skill testing question right here.
Maybe
Artificial-
that's if you're making it clear for the public, you might it might not mean anything to some members of the public, but that's all. Thank you. I appreciate.
I think everybody should know that one. It's a very important one. What the AED means, and there's training available on the island if you're interested in getting any training for AED. We just had a group of training go through our own community there in the last few months for the equipment we have out there. Anything else? If
Yeah,
not,
Chair, if I may.
Sure.
Leader. I just wanted to thank Tess for this. This is
Yeah.
great. I really like it. It is really helpful. And Tess, could you perhaps share a little bit of your thinking behind creating it and its use?
I created it because it was on the action items to do.
They'll ask for it.
Because the committee wanted to have a better grasp of how, where they fit, where we fit, where the volunteer groups fit into the organization.
And what are your thoughts in terms of like where it gets used and where it lives?
I think its use is just right here with this committee, so that
Right,
they understand where.
Is it something that would be worth putting on our website, perhaps?
I think it would. I think it would. It's an excellent piece of work, and I know when you come into a job new, you start looking around just to see what's involved. And Tess,
Yes,
clearly that's what inspired you to do this, to sort of define what it is that you're doing, and as part of your job description. And that's a very good thing to do. So I think you've done a great job as well. I'd agree. It pulls it all together very nicely. Shall we put it on the website? Sorry, Sue Ellen, go ahead.
I agree with you, Chair, about putting it on the website, and I think it might help volunteers decide whether this was something they wanted to be involved in and which part was which and how they might fit in the best. So that I was thinking about it being on the website. Thank you.
Everyone agree that it should go on the website?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. Thanks very much, Tess. You're still on deck, I'm afraid. Item 5.3. Item 5, the emergency program project status. Do you want to go through that for us?
Yeah, so what I kind of used the EPC status report from November of 2022, kind of as a to-do list and as a way to know what I needed to be looking at. So basically what I've done here is put that status update into a spreadsheet and giving you updates as to where we're at right now in the final column. So working on lots. But some of the grants, so the first section is where the grants are at, where some of the grants are at. The 2021 EOC capacity building, the 2021 Fire Smart grant, the 2022 ESS grant. So these are all listed. Do you want me to go over where each one of them are at?
Liam, what do you think?
No.
Sorry,
Yeah.
missed you.
Perhaps if
You're
people
mute,
just-
Liam.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry about that. Perhaps if people just identify topics that they would want an update on.
Or if Tess, if there's anything special you want to bring to our attention, but not the whole list.
Some interesting things for me was the things like the 2022 volunteer fire department and equipment training grant last year. That was one that was denied. So one of the things I did was I checked out as to why it was denied to see if perhaps it could be a future grant. So what I was told is that it is a highly sought after grant, and the requests come in for more money than they actually have. And because we have a fairly large operating budget larger than most fire departments that are applying, we were denied at that time, but we could be approved in the future. So it is something that's certainly worth looking at in the future.
I think that's very unfair. Just because we have a good budget, we don't get a grant. Let's see if we can do it again. Sue Ellen, I think you were next, and then Alison.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to flag it's related to the fire hall, and just that I was talking to one of the leaders of the Salish Sea Solar Co-op the other day, and this more is about future grants, but there are solar panels on the roofs of the following fire halls: Galliano, Pender, and Saturna. And those fire halls got a grant from Capital Regional District. It's where their gas tax money, so the climate action money flowed back. So I just thought, in case for future grants, when you're making applications that have to do with our island status and the need for that solar energy independence, if you want to call it that, from an island point of view, you might seek out the applications that Galliano, Pender, and Saturna sent in. So that's just something I'm contributing. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Sue Ellen, let me ask a question there, if I may. Is there somewhere Tess could go to find out what that more information about those climate action grants?
Not that I know of, but I was more speaking to Aaron as the fire chief could just call up the other fire chiefs, I thought, and see if there's something that he could learn from them. It's just in case the info is useful. Sorry to take up your time.
Okay. Alison?
Reading
then
the
John.
grant, the one about the that we got that was denied, I'll have to go back into my notes, but I have a recollection of the premier's speech at UBCM's or somebody saying there was going to be funding for training for volunteer fire departments, but I don't know whether it was equipment as well. So I'll go back and check my notes.
Thank you, Alison. Councillor Saunders.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Actually, Tess, thanks for the work here. It's putting everything in a pretty readable, organized format. So that's great. I'm just wondering, in your opinion, after we've all had a look at this now, and I think I know the answer to this. Is there any necessity on our end to prioritize any of those things, or it's like we've got to get it all done, so let's figure out how? Or is there any couple of these that jump out at you and say, let's address this one right now and then move on with others later?
Well, one that I think is important, and I'm hoping to tie it into the Next Generation 911 grant, is that grant includes a very vague term of mapping and GIS. And I'm hoping that there can be some other mapping included in that for the fire department use. And that would include layers that they have easy access to that will help them both find their locations that they're going to and the fire hydrants as well. So I'm just waiting on a couple of more quotes. But that's one thing that I've asked for to see if we can include it in the grant, and also some of the mapping for the emergency, the evacuation onto our BOMAP tool. So hoping to have some of that included, and a map that includes a map that is just basically waiting for input from an EOC for things like evacuation areas. So those are a couple of things that I'm hoping to get included with the 911 grant. Once we have the quotes in, I'll confirm with the administrator of the grant that whether or not those would be included.
Sure. So yeah, it sounds to me like you've already done the priority for your
So,
needs to be done. And
okay, Tess,
do you need
before we,
from us, you'll come back and ask for it.
I think we missed it. I didn't quite get that.
You're breaking up, John.
Maybe, John, you can write in the chat.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Not really.
Okay, disregard. I'll put something in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay. Tess, I wondered how you, as far as working with this spreadsheet, if the items are complete, do you move them down to the lower section, last section, and then move your priority planned tasks up into the ongoing? Is that how you plan to use it?
Yeah, so yeah, basically, so right now, again, I just took this as a template from the last EPC status.
Yeah.
And what I would be doing is taking away the middle column and adding another column for any updates from here on in.
Right.
And moving things along as they need to. I also included one at the bottom, which was the past staff action items. So these were items that came up in older action items that I tried to address.
Okay, thank you. I think I understand that. That's good. Action items. Next item would be to review the action items from previous meetings. Item number 6 on the agenda. How do we handle that? Steph?
Sometimes I think it's nice to give another, if poor Tess feels like she's been doing all
On the spot.
all the heavy lifting, maybe, I don't know, maybe Ed or somebody wants to review it.
Where are they?
Next page,
share
keep
them
going.
up.
Keep going. Okay.
I put Ed on the spot.
I see. Past items. Action items. Past items.
There we go.
Walk through them.
So we've done number 1.
Can I,
Yes, go ahead,
Can I-
please.
just relating to some of the action items, like, for example, number 4, they're from July. I just wanted to mention that Bowen Council met yesterday, and we have requested staff to ask Metro Vancouver to adjust their application to meet the Islands Trust Policy Statement Directive policies before second reading, so that the ball is in their court now, and we're kind of waiting for that. So in case people were feeling urgency about reaching out to other fire departments and things like that. I just want to let you know that that thing had happened yesterday. Over.
That's quite
Can
a
you
bit
scroll
of news,
back
I
up to
think.
the top page, Steph?
Sorry,
Yeah.
The Chair, could I suggest that?
Sure.
We go, I'm happy to lead and walk through each one and just do a real quick status update on each one.
Please go right ahead, Liam.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we discussed next gen 911, check. EOC training information via email to EPEC members. So we still need to do that. I don't think that has been shared with this committee, but Tess has been doing brilliant work in getting all of the planning solidified for that EOC training. And she just populated all of our calendars with 3 solid days of training this November and December. And so Tess, I think this is going to remain an action item to share some of the training. Maybe it's just a quick summary and perhaps what the scenario event looks like on December 8th with this committee. So that's an ongoing action item for a test there. And number 3 was to finalize disaster debris management for Bowen Island. That is ongoing. And I'll be honest that no work has actually taken place on that at this point. So that remains an action item. And then Aaron, the fire chief, has reached out to a number of fire departments that have volunteer departments and have campgrounds on their islands, and did write a brief report back on the responses. And essentially, one response from Hornby Island, which has multiple campgrounds, was essentially that they get called out to the campground maybe 5 to 10 times a year, mostly for wasp stings, never for fire. And that the other one, I think, was from Main Island, and they've never been called out to the campground for any incidents. But both chiefs were pretty clear that fire is well managed within the campgrounds and is never an issue or concern. Chief Hannon, is there anything that you wanted to add to that before we move on?
Not too much to add to that. Sorry, we're having a little bit of sound issues down here at the fire hall with the rain on the roof. We realized we might need to adjust our speaker setup.
We had that yesterday as well during our Islands Trust meeting. The downpour was so heavy.
Nice to hear the rain, but it's a little bit hard to hear everyone. So, but no, not too much to add to that. Basically, the responses I got back regarding the camping was that it was not big of a deal from either of the responding communities.
Right. Thank you, Aaron.
Can I ask you a question before you go on, Liam?
Sure.
Item number 2. Is that the tabletop exercise you were referring to? Is that what this EOC training information, or is it separate?
2 things. We're doing 2 days of EOC training, specific targeted training for our staff about just EOC essentials, so to speak. And then we're doing the 3rd day of training is an actual tabletop exercise where we're doing a wildfire scenario.
Wildfire scenario. And did we get help from a consultant for that?
Yes.
Okay, so that's all done.
Yeah.
Okay. When is that? You mentioned they were in, was that December or November?
We have 2 training days in November. They're not back-to-back days. They're separated by about a week. And
okay.
Then the tabletop exercise is at the beginning of December.
Okay. Thank you. That was something I was interested in hearing about. Do you want to go ahead then, please, Liam?
Sure thing. So moving on to November, or back to November 29th, 2022. So there was a an action item to write a briefing note on the Fire Smart program requirements, including clarification on which entity the requirement to have the Fire Smart staff to be eligible for grant funding, and clarification on what the exact criteria is for the program, and comment on alignment with the Blackwell proposal. I believe this can be removed, and correct me if I'm wrong, Aaron, because we did get clarification that to be eligible for the funding, we did have to have a dedicated Fire Smart coordinator or position, but that a consultant could be identified as that position, and the funding would support that consultant. And that's the method that we chose to follow. And Blackwell consultants are our
Advisor.
there are consultants that are fulfilling that need.
Yeah.
So I think we
Right.
can remove that, unless is there anything to add to that one, Aaron? Don't think so.
I don't think so. Well, I don't know, of course.
And then action 2 here was for Christy Stashen to ask UBCM contact if the CWRP must be adopted, endorsed, or received. And I don't know if we got clarification on that.
And that was a question I had, because I don't recall us ever actually adopting it at council, but that doesn't mean we didn't.
Right. So it doesn't seem to be impacting our ability to secure funding. So I don't, we can continue to seek that clarification, but I'd say it's very low priority. And number 3, ensure that new council and EOC staff are aware of the Public Works Mutual Aid Agreement and other developments in emergency management procedures. And so that just needs to be part of our onboarding material for new council and staff, and that will be shared with our HR coordinator. Number 4, CAO Edwards briefed the new mayor on EOC related responsibilities. We did have a dedicated session with mayor and council in July, on July 10th, on the emergency management operations and what the role of mayor and council is in that function. So that's been done. And number 5, yeah, sorry. Number 5, Aaron Hannon, Liam Edwards, Christy Stashen meet offline to discuss the AED program administration and report back at the next EPEC meeting. We did have those discussions. I don't recall reporting back and it's probably best for Aaron to chime in here, but essentially where we landed was that there was a willingness from some of the volunteers in the community to take on the management of the program, and that we would look at the municipality providing a annual operating grant to that group to take on the management and responsibilities of that program. But I'm not sure where that's at.
I have a question there, Liam. Can you update me on where we are with maintaining the AEDs? Did we get funding for that, or do we know how that is?
So right now, that's a budget item in the municipal operating budget, and so what we have the ability to provide the annual replacement for battery packs and or the AED in and of itself. But what's become evident is the time requirement on staff side to do that, because it requires a monthly check for each AED, and the program has expanded dramatically. So we have, initially it was supposed to be, or not supposed to be, but initially it was 10 AEDs across the island. We're now, I think above 20. And so when you factor in the amount of staff time it would take to just simply go and check each AED and test and make sure it's working, the feeling was that was the equivalent of almost like a 0.25 FTE or full-time equivalency, and that if we had a volunteer group that was willing to take that on, that would be a better approach. And so that's what we were exploring, is having, and we did get confirmation that there is a volunteer willing to take on that, and a volunteer group willing to take on that responsibility, and that we would provide some annual grant funding to support that.
Just a follow-up question there. Do we have any idea how many times a year these things are being used? Any usage stats?
It's a really good question, and I have no idea. As far as, I mean, in my limited time here on Bowen, I know of one incident where one was used.
Okay.
It's a really good question, and I have no idea how we would track that or know that.
Yeah, difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Steph, could you take that thing off the screen, please, or somebody? Thank you.
There we go.
Thank you, Liam, and thank you, Tess, for updating that. Any questions related to that, or can we move on to the next item? Okay, Councillor Fast.
Oh, just to flag that some of these are like the AED volunteers are in 5.3 Tess's emergency project update status. So there's more information in 5.3, lots of good stuff in there. Thank you.
Okay, good to read. Thank you very much, Councillor Fast. Let's move on to the next item, which is new business, which would be the election of a chair, a vice chair, rather.
It's dry.
You caught me, Steph.
That was Freudian.
Maybe that's why Gail didn't show up today.
So I think it's important we need a vice chair, because at one point I couldn't make this meeting, and I'd spoken to Liam about it, and we decided that we remembered that, in fact, when since Brian passed away, Brian Biddlecombe, we didn't have a vice chair after that point. So I think it's very important that we fill that role again. Probably not much to do, and if you don't want to, not a lot of work to do. Staff mostly do everything, as far as I can see. So it's not a very onerous job, except maybe chairing meetings at various points. Councillor Fast.
I'm wondering if Ed Watman would consider being nominated for vice chair.
You're muted.
Ed,
Ed,
yes.
can you unmute, Ed?
I think
Can't
that's
hear
an
you,
invasion
talking.
of privacy. I have to ask him if I can unmute him.
No,
There you go.
I'm sorry. I had all those documents lined up in front of the pictures, so
Oh.
I clear them. I would prefer not to. I've been 4.5 years as the lead coordinator at NERP, and I'm slowly slipping away a bit. So, but I appreciate the offer.
Ed, I totally understand. That's my Freudian slip.
Do we want to defer this till we have Gail present, or do you want one of us counselors to volunteer, which I would be okay with doing?
Well, I was going to ask, is it fair ball to have a councillor as vice chair? Is that any precedence in that? Steph?
Yeah, there is precedence. We just prefer to get the community members engaged, but if there's no other option, that's fine.
Sue Ellen, do you have a question there? You have your hand up.
Yeah, I was going to propose that we wait until the next meeting when Gail's here. Or
Or we could nominate her right now.
I don't think it's fair to do that with she's
There's
not
always
here.
that.
I was also wondering if the fire chief might like to be the backup on this one.
That's a very good idea. We had the
Yeah.
ex-fire chief.
Is he a voting member? Everyone on this committee.
He is a voting member.
He is a voting member.
I think it would be good if Gail was interested in doing it, but I could get back on that, sure.
Can you be the interim
Okay.
interim vice chair? Chief Hannon?
Well, if we need a vice chair for a meeting, we can always elect the vice chair if you're not here, Bill. So let's defer it
Okay.
till we've got everybody.
Okay, well, there's
Agree
only
with
one
that
person missing, I
also.
think. Okay,
Mm.
who said that, John?
Yeah, I
Aaron
agree
didn't
with
sound
what
enthused, but if he
Allison
wants
said.
to do it,
Is
Okay,
he here
let's
from
defer.
John Saunders?
Go ahead, Councillor Saunders.
No, I just said I agree with Allison's approach. Let's put it off till we've got everyone here to talk about it.
Okay, a good idea. I'm happy enough with that. In the meantime, somebody should maybe sound Gail out if they happen to be talking to her, if that's what you prefer. Okay. Any other business? Item 7.2. Councillor Morris.
I just wanted to raise one of the information items to make
Mhm.
sure that we all are paying attention to it, and we may have to have a special meeting to talk about it. And that's 8.4. The province has tabled the emergency management legislation, and I've been to a couple of sessions that were held by the Emergency Management Association that UBCM publicized. There's a lot of things we're going to have to do, and some of them are going to have to be done, first. So, but I just haven't had time to wade my way through the full legislation because it was just tabled last week. So just wanted to put that on the radar that I think we need to pay attention to it fairly soon. Because there's some requirements for early and First Nations consulting before we even get into it. And I know Liam's looking at me so anyhow, we just may have to have a meeting to go over it and look at our responsibilities, because they're going to pass it in this. And there's a whole bunch of stuff that will come out in the regs that they haven't drafted yet.
Thank you, Councillor Morris. I did read the information you sent to us, and it is
Yeah.
quite a change. So
Yeah.
perhaps we can just we can keep a watching brief on that, and you or others can sort of update it as things happen. If you would mind doing that, that's very good.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anybody else got any other items?
Liam has his hand
Information?
up.
Oh, if I may, Chair, I'm just going to follow up on Councillor Morris's item, and it is quite concerning because it's dramatic changes, and most of it is welcome in the sense of a modernization of the act. But it is there's a lot of, for lack of a better term, downloading from the provincial responsibilities to local, and it's not clear as to how all of these desires of the province are going to be achieved. It's not reasonable to think that all of the small local governments are going to be able to achieve the level of comprehensive engagement and planning that they're after. Fortunately, Bowen is a very proactive community and has done a lot of the good work that the province will be looking for other communities to step up and do. But there's still going to be new elements that are going to be quite tough for us to achieve. And we'll keep the committee posted as the legislation moves through the House, but more so the big concerning pieces of the regulatory elements, which will come in the ensuing years, probably over a 2-year period. after the legislation receives royal assent, probably in the spring. My guess. So.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll keep an eye on that one. Next meeting, December the 6th to 15th. That's a long meeting, Steph.
Well, it's a new legislation. There's a lot to cover. What about Tuesday, December 12th at 1:30 or 2 o'clock?
Just a
Oh,
minute.
Can we check our calendars for that one?
I know
where did
I've got Liam's calendar.
Tuesdays, step
But-
two,
And Sue Ellen. Mhm.
step Tuesdays are really bad for me.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. I'm gonna take a couple shots at this. I'm really having a
Okay.
bad day with Doodle, so I'm gonna keep you for a sec. Thursday at 10 a.m., December 14th.
Hold on, I can't get my calendar here. Okay, so what did you propose? Thursday, December?
Thursday,
Okay.
December 14th at 10 a.m.
Let's get to the next month here.
Yes, John. Got John, Sue Ellen, Liam.
Oh, John can do the 14th. So yeah, at this point, I don't have anything on my calendar. Thursdays are not a day when we go
And
off.
Tess and Aaron.
island,
It's getting very close to Christmas.
so. But 10 o'clock in the morning, you won't miss your luncheon.
You
So
never
I'm
know.
gonna try to make sure. I think what happens with Gail is her schedule changes suddenly,
Yes.
which is in
Yes.
turn. So
Would this be a
yeah,
Zoom
Tess
meeting or
and Aaron, you're fine with that?
that Thursday the 14th? Did you
Yeah.
say? No. At what time? At
10
10
a.m.
o'clock? Okay. That's blank on my calendar, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, don't put it in yet. Let me put it in for you.
Well, if we
Okay.
don't, well, we can put it in now with a tentative behind it and you can confirm it.
Okay.
10 o'clock. Okay, we'll put it in pro tem.
You guys just
Pencil
saved
it
me
in.
3 hours of work. Thank you.
Oh, it's easier
Thank
to do. isn't it?
you.
We'll just check with Gail. Yeah.
Okay, let's write that in EPEC, 10 a.m. Okay, good. Are there any other items? If not, we can call for adjournment. See if
I'll
Okay.
move adjournment.
I'll second that.
Second,
Anyway,
I'll vote yes.
and we wish Councillor Saunders good luck down in the Maritimes there, and enjoy your supper. I hope it's going to be some nice shrimp or something like that.
Oh my
Or
gosh.
lobster. Yeah.
Some lobster.
Yeah.
Sue Ellen, you're saying goodbye?
Yep. Goodbye, everybody.
Will
Okay.
be.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks a lot. Take care.